Hello, everyone, and today we have a very special guest with us. This is
Yes.
Ronit from the Revolver Club.
Hi guys.
So, Revolver Club is a record store along with a lot of other things, and that's a place where I have gone multiple times to get the record that I listen to. So, I'm not going to take much time, and I'm going to ask Ronit to explain what the Revolver Club is all about, and then I'm going to shoot a few questions about music and vinyl records. So, Ronit, how do you look at the Revolver Club?
I'll start with my background actually. I've been working at Revolver Club since the last 2 years and I work with records mainly. But Revolver Club is more than just records, I would say. We are a one stop destination for anything premium. By premium, I mean hi fi audio, home theater solution, watches, and obviously records. So, we have been in this business since the last 7 to 8 years and we have been supplying, let's just say, we are India's cultural hub. We link with all the enthusiasts around the country who are into maybe watches, into records, into different movies, and we build a safe space for them. So we collaborate with different cafes, with different bars who can align with our vision of forming a cultural community across the country. Currently, our largest community is our records community. We I don't mean to sound arrogant here, but we currently own the records game. In the sense, a, we have more than 10 lakh record collectors across the country. We keep visiting different cities, hosting pop-ups where people come meet me, see records, and buy them on the spot. And this is not just English records. There's Hindi records that are being made within India, and there's a huge customer base for that as well. Along with new records, there are also pre-owned records that we sell which are from the 60s, the 70s, some are from the 50s also. And people like to collect those also. And they may think that there's not a market for it, but people will be surprised as to how big this market really is. There are guys who just never moved on to the new age of Spotify, Apple Music, and all that because it just doesn't seem right. The way records and music as a whole has to be listened to is by sitting down and giving your full attention to just music, nothing more.
Mhm.
You don't have to, let's just say, do some work while listening to music or washing the dishes while listening to music. Music has to be listened to with your complete attention. You have to pay attention to every single sound, every single beat, because that's how it works all the time, I would say.
How I came across Ronit was, so they had a pop-up event
Yes.
in my city, and where nothing ever happened. So I was surprised at how come this is happening here. And then we had a long discussion, and we are planning quite a few things. So I'm hoping that we will have more performances and concerts and stuff like that happening in the city. So watch out. I might be making more announcements quite soon. So let's see. But talking about vinyl records, so I started listening to music on vinyl 7 to 10 years back, I would say. Before that, I was all about Spotify and the digital medium. It's not that I have given up listening music on the digital platforms, but if I want to listen to music, I would want to sit down right here, play my records here, and then just relax and listen. But otherwise, I do listen to music on the move also. Like if I'm sitting in a bus
Mhm.
and I can't read because it's jerky, then obviously I have my headphones and all. So all that's happening. But Ronit, if someone is getting into this whole vinyl culture,
Mhm.
um, what equipment do we need? Because this is something which, so wherever I go and if I see a person who is into music, I would try my level best to push them to get a vinyl setup. And then when I start explaining them, okay, this is something that you need, they go like, oh, this is too complicated, maybe I'll get into it 5 years from now.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of response I get. But if someone wants to get into this scene, if you can just explain that, what's the basic equipment that they need to look at for this?
So generally, it's a misconception that people have that they should have a record player first and then they should buy the records. That's actually not true. They should actually start with the record collection first. You see, now they may think that records है लेकिन player नहीं है तो क्या फायदा? It does नहीं.
I bought my
That's not
first
true.
CD before I bought a CD player, and that
हाँ.
was Shakespeare in Love ka OST.
That's that's what I'm trying to say. You loved Shakespeare ka OST, right? So when you buy a record, you buy it for the love of the artist.
The
So
music,
that's
yeah.
why the love of the artist, the love of the music, and records are more than just the record player. Sometimes they may have a booklet, sometimes they may have a poster, a signed poster. So you need to you need to find what you like and you need to start collecting it. Once you have collected enough, like let's say 3, 4, 5 records, then you invest in the player because then it becomes worth it. Now, if you're already getting into the hobby thinking कि नहीं मेरे को खाली records सुनना है, you won't be well invested in it. But if you get into the hobby liking the music and the artist, then you will proceed with more and more. You'll your horizons. You'll broaden your horizons. You'll be more open-minded, and then once you get used to listening to records, you'll just want more of it. Really.
So let us say that I have a good bunch of 10 to 15 or maybe 20 LPs now, all my favorite albums and artists. And I want to start listening to it at home now. So what's my next step then?
Well, then you buy an entry-level turntable, which is one that we recommend is an automatic turntable. You'll find brands like Audio Technica, Denon supplying it. If I had to endorse someone, it would be Audio Technica because very reliable turntables never break down. And go for the entry level because the turntable hobby in the start can be very intimidating. People can think that it's very hard to use it, hard to use records in a turntable. It's not very intimidating. You need to figure
give
out.
it time though.
You need to give it time, yes. There's things like placing the tone arm that requires patience, requires
getting the right counterweight, but all of that will not happen.
That is also at the higher level.
Yeah, not for an automatic turntable.
Automatic turntable, just the start stop button is needed.
Yeah,
and it will give you the sound that is going to sort of give an idea of the hobby. And once you have listened to it enough times, then you can invest in a better turntable. Your speakers are also they're equally important. Ideally, we recommend customers to go for a bookshelf speakers, which is a left and right stereo separation speakers, because that's when the sound is heard best. And there are versions today of bookshelf speakers that have Bluetooth also and analog also. So if at all you're ever not using the turntable, you can always switch to Bluetooth. But invest in a decent setup. You don't have to go all out by investing in a 50,000, 1 lakh rupee setup. You need as much as 33,000 to get a decent setup for yourself. And one thing is never cheap out on the hobby. So by cheap out, I mean there are cheaper versions of turntables like suitcase turntables that are being sold online. Very bad for records, very bad for your listening.
Very affordable, but they'll ruin your record.
They'll ruin your records over time, and also they won't give you the best listening experience.
Yeah, the sound is like you don't need to buy a record.
Yeah, exactly.
For that sound.
It's just a gimmick, I would say, those turntables. Even back in the day, I think the best setup was one that had the speakers and the turntable separate. And even now it holds strong.
In the 70s, they would have these leather cased things with fur on it and, very fancy stuff. I don't know how they sounded, though. I've just seen them at the repair shops now. And then at times, there's some film which is trying to replicate the old time. So
back then, the hi-fi scene was also of its own caliber, you can say. They had those Sanyo, like another Japanese brand, was making these cassettes, CDs, and vinyl records hybrid thing.
Cabinets and
yeah. So my family also used to own one. I never got to see it, but my father told me about it. So this hi-fi scene was always there. It's never a time where it had died down and then it came back. Honestly, it was always there. It's just that it was a small thing. Now a lot of people are getting into it.
So if I'm looking at an Audio Technica or Denon's entry-level automatic turntable, how much will it cost?
15 to 20,000.
So it's not that much, which is a huge misconception because 15,000 to आज की date में आधा phone भी नहीं आता है उसमें लोगों का.
Correct.
And people get shoes for 15,000.
Correct. And if you're going to invest in records worth 4,000-5,000, don't cheap out on buying a 1.5-2,000 rupee turntable, because that is just speaks for the quality that it will have. I don't mean to say that expensive means better, but at times you can, by looking at something only, you can realize ki theek hai, this is being made as a as a thing for the hobby only, not for making sales for a big company type.
A reliable product, yes. So let us say that I bought an entry-level turntable, an automatic one, which will, by default, I believe, will come with a inbuilt preamp. So is that preamp good enough, or would I want to invest in an external preamp?
No, you don't need to. For an entry level, you don't need an external preamp. Okay. That is only if you're going into the hobby in the mid level or the high level, which is way down the line if you really want to get into that. But for the timing, you don't need to go too complicated into it. Just keep it simple.
Okay. And the speakers, like so we need the turntable and we need speakers,
Mm-hmm.
which can very much be passive speakers. We don't need a pair of active speakers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, what would be the price range for that?
Uh, the active ones would be 10 to 12. They can
Mhm.
go up to 15, 20 also, but they started around, I would say, 10,000, 12,000. Go for the edifiers, they are the best speakers. And you have to be very particular about the sound that you want and the very particular about the brands that you associate yourself with.
Mhm.
But if you're not very knowledgeable about it, go for a simple setup, which is a Audio Technica LP60X and an edifier R1280 dB. On our website, we sell it as the Enthusiast Pack,
Okay.
which is which is like the name speaks for itself. It's a entry level pack. If you just want to get into the hobby, get a feel of it, go for this setup. It's the basic setup you need. You don't need anything more. Maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you can invest in a better setup. But this particular uh, pack that we are selling you will last you a lifetime.
You
If I had to put it
funny
in
you
words.
mentioning that. I keep buying a lot of earphones,
Mhm.
and one pair was from Audio Technica, and it's been around 7, 8 years now.
Mhm.
And all the others that I bought along with it, they've all gone.
Mhm.
But that Audio Technica is still working, and you can, when you look at it, I was like, "ये नहीं चलेगा इतनी देर."
Huh.
But still it's working well.
Yeah, it just speaks for the Japanese craftsmanship that they have over there. They are very particular about the way they
Life
make
of
things, you know.
the durability
Yeah.
of the.
Like if you see the cars also, they last you a lifetime.
Hmm.
They'll last you 10, 15, 20 years. So same way the turntables and the audio equipment will also last you that long.
So a lot of people collect vinyl records,
Mhm.
and not just to listen to, but they take it as an investment also.
Mhm.
So any tips for someone who wants to get into vinyl record collection, and if you can share some thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
so never stack your records one on top of the other. That's the main thing. Lot of people think कि they कुछ नहीं होएगा, बहुत कुछ होएगा, आपका record ही पूरा चला जाएगा
खराब हो
and it
जाता
will
है.
lose its value.
Yeah.
Make sure it's not kept in direct sunlight because that will cause it to become bent. And keep them clean. If you can invest in an outer sleeve and an inner sleeve, you don't have to clean them constantly, but make it a ritual to, along with your turntable, to buy a simple record brush also. So before you play the record, and give it a light rub, a light scrub before you play the record. That will actually save you a lot because the dust that will collect over time on the record will also collect on your stylus, and that can cause it to wear out the stylus faster.
And the sound also goes down.
Yes, sound will also go down, but you don't have to get too. It's not too much of a hassle, I would say. These things, at least the modern day equipment that's being made, is being made very durable and very reliable. Back in the day, of course, there were not that much of expertise around these kind of things, so they had to be a lot more careful. But nowadays, it's become so much more. There's so much more study that has gone into making these things that you can be a bit more. I don't want to say careless, but you can be a bit more
Easy with
free-minded,
it.
easy-minded.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the word.
I have some records. So, and at times I would buy an album because of its significance.
Uh-huh.
And I'm still to understand, like, which, like, back in the day there were multiple pressings. For example, if I go out hunting for Michael Jackson's Thriller,
Mhm.
there will be so many different, there's a Japanese pressing, there's a Portugal pressing, there's so many different pressings. So, but I've not reached that point
Mhm.
that I can understand which is the best pressing and which, because they're priced differently accordingly then, no? But there are certain, like, for example, when I came to the pop-up, I was again and again looking at the vinyl of the Bodyguard.
Mhm.
Now, why was I doing that? Because that's an album which is the highest selling soundtrack of any album till date.
Okay.
And along with that, it's the highest selling album by any female artist till date. I only like one song, and that is the "And I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston, which also has another rendition by Dolly Parton, which I think I like better. But still, this one you can't decredit Whitney Houston for singing it. So, and I've been thinking, should I or should I not buy it? Should I or should not? And I listened to the whole album like thrice in the last 2 days just to make up my mind and decide, whether I want this album or not. And I couldn't come to a conclusion.
Mhm.
So, how would you help me if you were to get over this dilemma? An album which is very significant according to the music history,
Mhm.
but I don't really enjoy it as much.
So if that's the case, really, I would say buy what you like. Don't go too deep into these things. If you're the kind of guy who's been in the hobby for 10, 15 years and you really value the pressing of a particular record, then yes, you'll have to dig deeper into it. I wouldn't be one to advise. Ultimately, it comes down to personal preference. But if you're a guy who's getting into the hobby, don't get intimidated by all these pressing and all that stuff. And if you are really hell-bent on pressing and all that, there's also premium pressings and all that sell abroad, that sell for like
Insane.
10, 15, 20 grand.
Insanely
So
high.
it's not worth it, I would say, getting so deep into it, unless and until you have a very high level setup and you're very well into the hobby. If you're just starting out, keep it simple.
Because
That's
the
all I can
differences
say.
won't even appear in your playing then.
They will, depending on your setup, but obviously you'll have to be over time accustomed to that kind of setup for yourself, and you'll have to build your ear to that kind of sound, and that doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. You'll have to sit down, you'll have to pay attention. That is the main thing. A lot of people don't get that. They think कि एक sitting में ही सब कुछ पता चल जाएगा. नहीं होता है वैसे. You will have to give it time.
It took me a while, and I also graduated. So I got my turntable first.
Mhm.
Then I just had a set of what do you call those multimedia speakers. वो
Okay.
Bose के थे यार.
Mhm.
और उसमें इतना ज़्यादा enhancement होके निकलता था, but I was very happy listening to that because I didn't have anything to compare it with. And then later I invested into a preamp and an amplifier, and then later I got better speakers.
Mhm.
So it for me also it was I graduated with that journey, and I think that's
हाँ.
how it is. In the first go, अगर आपने वो सब ले भी लिया ना, you won't be able to understand and use it properly.
Correct. You'll have to, there is a trial and error period for
Yeah.
things. You know, you will be disappointed several times with certain pressings. You may be disappointed with
Oh, I have a stack
yeah.
of that.
Yeah. So, but that's the beauty also of this journey, you know.
Yeah.
You have to go dig deep into it, and you have something that you're so invested in that it may disappoint you at times, but you just can't stop it, really.
Talking of bad pressings, one of the pressings for Yes Boss is so bad that it's like it really makes me want to cry. And when I bought that and I played it, I was like, "ये क्या किया मैंने?" I was almost like contemplating, should I send it back? Should I ask for a replacement, or if anything can be done, you know? And I said, चलो रहने दो, cover art है,
No, don't do
display
it. Keep it as a story.
हाँ,
It's
हाँ,
a very good story to have.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this culture again. You have ample amount of stories to tell, you know. There's so much you can invest in records in. It's not just for the sound.
Yeah.
It's for the story behind everything, you know. Everything that we do in
And then I
Revolver
hunted-
Club also is behind the story.
Then I hunted for a CD. कि रिकॉर्ड तो अच्छा नहीं है, बट मेरे को गाने पसंद है, मेरा ऑडियो कैसेट घिस चुका है, that doesn't sound good anymore. Then I hunted a CD, and then I got a CD, and I was like, now it's fine, now I don't need anything else. But I think that record has been pressed twice after that.
Yes, Boss has been pressed, I think, twice or thrice, I think so.
Thrice.
Yeah,
So
thrice.
pehla pressing was terrible. After that, 2 pressings
Yeah,
came.
they also had like the colored pressings and all that.
There
of
was
that
one
record.
colored pressing, and there was one anniversary pressing or something.
Yes.
But I didn't invest in that again. I was like, I have the CD now, it's fine.
But yeah, there are many like multiple pressings of records that are coming up nowadays, Hindi, English, both. So you have ample options, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I say this, if you're a veteran collector, then only get so deep into things. It may sound intimidating to people who are maybe watching this right now, but it's not very intimidating.
It's fun.
It's fun. Exactly.
And it's very therapeutic. You know, you're physically dealing with something. It's very therapeutic.
On the surface level, it's just a very comfortable hobby to have, you know. It's maybe expensive, but once you get into it, now there's no stopping. You'll get into it all the way.
Okay, one final question, and then we're going to wrap it up. It's hard to come by good music these days. And it's not that I don't like new music, I do. But it's not, it doesn't have that it doesn't come that quickly these days. So a few albums which I really enjoyed in the past few years were Kho Gaye Hum Kahan, The Archies, that TV series called Jubilee. And I've been trying to convince people to get these albums on vinyl, but no one really seems to be getting on with it. Why do you think? How do they select which titles are gonna get pressed in vinyl and which not? And is there any way to get these 3 albums pressed from somewhere if you have any contacts?
Well, yeah. See, to answer your pressing question, there is a pressing plant in Mumbai that has opened up very recently, which we also closely work with. They are the ones pressing the majority of the Hindi records, Indian records that we are seeing. As to answer your question for why they are not being pressed, it's all based on demand, really. So the demand for these movies, it's not actually demand also actually, because there are records that are not fairly well known, but they still get pressed. It all depends on the label, on what they want to press. So it's all a trial and error thing, I would say. But there's really not a simple way to answer this question, I would say. But to answer your question about the music not being good these days, I wouldn't say it's not that. There is good music made, there is bad music being
And
made.
it's
It's very
always been the
subjective.
case. It's
It's very,
always been
yeah,
the
yeah.
case.
But I think right now the spotlight is coming mainly on the music that is on, from the Hindi film industry or the film industries as a whole. There's a outside of the film industry, there's a whole music industry in India. There's indie music, there's regional music, then there's music from different villages and parts of this country that you haven't even noticed experience. That is, I would say, real Indian music. I'm not talking about just regional. This is Indian music as a whole. You need to dig deep into this to find this kind of music. And that's when you'll actually find good music from within India. If you are judging India based on the Bollywood and Hindi film music or the South Indian or whatever film music for that matter, music coming from the film industry, you're not going to make a good judgment of what kind of music is coming in. But there's good music everywhere, honestly speaking, in India, abroad. It's still being made. You just have to find the right guys. And if you have that curiosity to dig deep into finding the right music, now you will find it. It's always out there. You just have to find it.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions, but I think I need to stop here because the Ronit has a flight to catch, and we're really running against time.
Yeah.
So probably we'll have another discussion about maybe indie artists and the music scene in India sometime later.
Definitely.
We can do that, but right now I think that's all we have for today. Any questions if you have, please feel free to shoot them in the comments section,
Yes.
and both of us will definitely respond to that.
Yes.
And until next time, guys, keep enjoying the music and keep listening, keep watching, keep reading. Cheers.
Thank you.